Hello guys, let me see if my audio works. Hold on. Let me see. Audio, yeah, audio is working, right? Okay, I think it's working on my end. Just double check, let me know if you can hear me. Yay, okay, you can hear me. Well, welcome to my bedroom. I'm normally in my living room cave, and today I decided to stream from the bedroom. It's quite nice. I like it. It's comfy. Let me know how you guys feel about it. Let me turn my audio up just a little. Let me see. How does that sound? Testing. Okay. Yeah, you know, streaming from my bedroom. It's nice. Well, yeah, okay, so today is the alchemy stream. It's Thursday, so I'm doing alchemy stream. So I don't want to get too much into politics. You know, Tuesday is art stream, but we get into a little bit of like politics, but like artsy stuff. But I like to keep the alchemy stream strictly to alchemy. And some of you guys were asking what happened with the London stream. You know, it's going to be kind of complicated to explain it. I'll explain it on the other one maybe. I can't get into too much detail, but yeah, the internet really sucked. I couldn't get a stream going, and I was really, really upset. And there was a lot of difficulties that day, and it ended up being just like a horrible, horrible day. And I was really upset. You guys know how emotional I am. Got very emotional and got really upset. And I spent a ton of money trying to get into London and, you know, get internet on my phone, get my phone service working, because I don't really have service on my phone ever. And, you know, I had to pay for food while I was out there. And it was just like absolutely horrible. And I couldn't produce anything. And more than anything, I was like, this is going to be super embarrassing, because where did this live stream go? But anyway, that's all that I want to say about that right now. Yeah, so this belt is really uncomfortable. I may have to go change. It's too tight. I can't even think. I used to wear this belt all the time. I gotta lose a little bit more weight. Yeah, well, I mean, it would have been nice to get some footage either way if I wasn't streaming, and that didn't happen. But, you know, whatever. Thanks for understanding, guys. Really appreciate it. But, yeah, I don't know if a lot of you guys were in the last... yeah, people are saying for me to get comfy. I might just, like, put another belt on. I can't do it. Can't do it. It's too tight. It's too tight. I'll be right back. Hold on. Just enjoy my room. It's not really the look I'm going for. It's white, but whatever. It's more comfortable. Dave Incognito gave $5. He said, I know you want to avoid politics, but I've got to know, did the baby Trump balloon make a loud balloon fart sound as it deflated? Yeah, I know. I should have been there getting that footage for you guys. I was a bit upset. But, yeah, apparently it did make a sound. It made a pop. But unfortunately, I had to run off, and there was a lot of drama going on that day. But yeah, it did make noise. Yeah, Based Amy is crazy. She's the loomer of the UK. But anyway, okay. So some people said that this is their first time watching, and some of you guys were in last week's alchemy stream. So this is kind of a part 2. The first stream was important to kind of get the reference of what we are talking about, and I'm sorry to have to reiterate everything to people that have seen it already or listened already, but there are the 4 stages of the alchemical process. Sometimes people say there's 3, but I like to include all 4. Let me try to again bring up some of the 4 stages of alchemy. There are some visuals for this. Let me hold on. Okay. So, yeah, there's the 4 stages of the alchemical process. Let me find the right imageries that I found the last time. Oh no, where are they? Does this represent it? Kinda. Let me start with the first stage, which is Negretto. I won't linger too long with this, guys. I know some of you have already seen it. Should have prepped the images beforehand because I'm not seeing what I need to see. This is Negretto, but I want all 4 of them. Albedo. Oh, here we go. Yeah, as I said, a lot of the times it's depicted as only 3 stages, but technically there are 4. And I like to include all 4. The first one, which at the top it's purification, and it's Negretto, which is a burning and a purging, a purification process, and there's, 2 copulating in agua, water, and it represents coming face to face with your demons and a cleansing of the impurities, and it can be a really dark stage. That can be represented in people's lives a lot. So whenever there's these horrible things that happen, for example, what happened to me, getting blacklisted and all my friends stabbing me in the back and disavowing me and stuff, I considered that a Negretto. It was a burning and a purging and, expelling of impurities, so that something, and coming face to face with demons, so that something better can come to surface. And that is where we get into the Albedo, which is that middle picture that you see. I want to make sure you guys can see it. Yeah, you can. And the whitening is kind of like that white ash after you completely burn something. And it is what's left over, that residue. And it also goes with Cata Pavonis, this, brilliant colors in the white light, and so you get this like spiritual awakening of sorts, but it can send you mad. It can drive you crazy getting into that state, and so you have to kind of round it out with the next phase, the yellowing, which is, I think, really important, so I don't like to exclude it. I think that yellowing phase is really important, because, again, you can go crazy in that white phase, and there's something about the yellowing process that is a process of maturing. So we will get into the yellowing, the Xanthosis or Citronistas stage a bit more today because I went through the Negretto and Albedo in depth last time. So just go check that out. I'll be changing the thumbnail of that to have the alchemy thumbnail so you can really make sure you see which one that is, but it's labeled correctly. And we will also be going over today the last phase of the alchemical process, Rubedo, which is a reddening. And that is symbolized by like multiplication. So it's like to multiply something, and there's a power to multiplication. So let's see exactly what they are. Let's dig in a little bit deeper. Let me see what you guys are saying first. Yeah, help out the stream and hit that like. Dark Night of the Soul. Yeah, exactly, Lua. Hey, nice to see you in here. They burned me, though, right? Don't want to be rude. Yeah, I got burned. Sure. Joey Jojo gave $2. Hey, what's up, Joey? Said sending you support. Love your content, Martina. Thank you. That means a lot. It really means a lot. I cannot reduce my light because then it screws up the lighting in my bedroom, if you know what I mean. And I kind of like being blown out. I like looking really white. So I'm fine. I don't even have that much light in here. The main lights are off. I just have like one LED light bouncing off the ceiling to give ambient light and one small light that's not even pointing at me. It's pointing at my background. Oh, I have someone that was born the same day that I was. Interesting. How did you know what my birthday is? Okay. I think we're caught up with what people are saying. I just want to keep tabs on you guys before we get into some of this. But let's see where we are at. Let me share my screen. I said last time that there's like a really good website that I like, Levity. It's like the Alchemy website. Maybe that's where I'm looking for. Yeah, this site is really good. I know it looks super like boomer 90s, but the guy is a bit of a boomer, but he has been doing this for decades and has like a ton of content on here that you guys can roam through if you're interested in any of this. And there's even material in other languages. I mean, it's really, really fantastic. There's a lot. Ooh, there's a mailing list. I should join that. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of imagery, alchemical texts that you can sort through from the 16th century physical and philosophical, all the way up to modern time stuff. And, there's a lot in here. And, like I said before, the alchemy is both the outer work and the inner work. The outer work is the physical chemistry aspect, and the inner work is the philosophical, the Carl Jung, the psychological kind of stuff. So they both work together, but they have different texts at times and, allegories and stuff like that. But, this is what we went through before with Negretto. To purification, decomposition, and fire, and death, and all that. And there's like peacock's tail, which kind of goes hand in hand with whiteness. This is, what a lovely image of a lady. I like it. Actually, I might save that. The aura. Cool. I'm going to save that. Albedo is symbolized by Aura, by the dawn, the morning star, Venus Aphrodite, by the sun rising from the Philosopher's Sea. And then you see this one also just skips Xanthosis or Citronistas and goes right into Rubedo. So I'm going to skip this one. It's hard to find stuff on this phase. It really is a bit underrepresented. So, I have to look at Wikipedia because it's something that comes up. Again, it's not much, but it's one of the few times it comes up. Citronistas, sometimes referred to as Xanthosis, is a term given by alchemists to yellowness. It is one of the 4 major stages of the alchemical magnum opus, and literally referred to transmutation of silver into gold, or yellowing of the lunar consciousness. In alchemical philosophy, Citronistas stood for the dawning of the solar light inherent in one's being, and that the reflective lunar or soul light was no longer necessary. The other 3 alchemical stages were Negredo, Albedo, and Rubedo. Psychologist Carl Jung is credited with interpreting the alchemical process as analogs to modern-day psychoanalysis. In the Jungian archetypal schema, Negredo is the shadow, Albedo refers to the anima and animus, contrasexual soul images, either male or female. Contranistas is so basically like Albedo, like, if you're a woman, so you have like this masculine, psychological counterpart, and this is important because masculine and femininity is like the yin and yang, they come together. So it is about coming in touch with your opposite side, and it's an important thing to do, which I actually think is showing that gender is not a social construct. They tend to make this claim that sexuality and gender is not the same thing. Whatever. I mean, in context and history and alchemy and all this stuff, they kind of use it in a similar way. And it is like, as a woman, there is this like equal masculine counterpart that I should, understand so that I can become one whole piece. And psychologically, it's really, really important for that. And I think that only proves our point of masculine and feminine being opposites but equal in different ways, and that they do exist. It's not like that I'm trained to be feminine because of society. No, it's in me. It's innate in me, and it's important for me to understand the opposite of that so that I can find that wholeness. Okay, where are we at now? Citronistas is the wise old man or woman archetype, and Rubedo is the self archetype, which has achieved wholeness. Okay, that's the short form. And yeah, let me see. This article actually is all about Xanthosis, so this is cool. Let's go through this. I have to zoom this in a bit. But before I get there, let me see if there's anything else I should go through before I start reading that. This is kind of conversations that this guy has had. I don't know I guess these are like emails and stuff, and he documents things, and there's some really good conversations that I've read in these things. So sometimes they're well worth the read. Sometimes people just have general questions. See, these people were saying about, however, I think it's more probable that he gave a particular kind of coherence to some biblical ideas, probably mixing them with symbolic resonance from other fields rather than simply discovered coherence, which was already there, blah, blah, blah. But this is complicated, as undoubtedly those biblical metaphors would have influenced European usages as well. Yeah, and I think that's an important thing, is that I definitely think that, I guess he's talking about, I must admit I would like to find a copy of Hitchcock's book on Swedenborg as a Hermetic philosopher, but I think unlikely I'll never see it. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a link with alchemy is a Western tradition, and it is definitely influenced heavily in the West, and there are roots of Christianity in it. So I really don't really agree when people try to act like this alchemy stuff is antithesis to Catholicism. It's really not. They originally described 4 stages: melanosis, blackening, leucosis whitening, xanthosis yellowing, and iosis reddening. During the 15th and 16th century, this was generally simplified to 3 stages: Negredo, Albedo, Rubedo. How is xanthosis seen, and what about its Latin form as citronistas? Why was the stage excluded or not talked about? Is it really a change over time, as you state? Actually, this is meant to be a description of what Jung argued, which is why these statements are not made into the history section. He does not, as far as I know, elaborate on this issue. So if anyone else can add anything, then I would be grateful. I personally do not know if it is true to the degree that he claimed. I have a vague feeling that citronistas is less common in later works, but I wouldn't bet too much on it, as I am not sure about its commonness in the earlier works. Thank you for all the comments. They talk about Nicholas Flamel and stuff. Okay, I just wanted to see what they say in this thing about xanthosis, but as you can see, they don't really. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Let me see if anything else pops in here. Notes written about alchemy, which is in some scientists in Newton's time believed to hold the secrets of transmutation. Yeah, exactly. I got into alchemy because I like math and art, and Isaac Newton was obsessed with alchemy to his dying day. And I think that if some great minds like Isaac Newton and Leonardo da Vinci were obsessed with alchemy, that there has to be something to it. So I don't care what idiot tells me, like, oh, that stuff doesn't exist. I'm like, yeah, okay, you're smarter than Isaac Newton and Leonardo da Vinci. Sure, got it, cool. Anyway. Let's see. All right, let's go back to this one. Okay. Citronistas, the alchemy of the sun. Citronistas, also referred to as xanthosis, is a term given by alchemists to yellowness. It is one of the 4 major stages of the alchemical magnum opus and literally referred to transmutation of silver into gold or yellowing of the lunar consciousness. In alchemical philosophy, Citronistas stood for the dawning. Yeah, we already read this. Citronistas, or yellowing, is the stage after Albedo, a stage that many authors after the 15th century tended to suppress or rather compress into the last one, Rubedo. While the Albedo represented the moon, or female, Citronistas referred to the sun, or male. The union of male and female, the so-called chemical wedding, that's right, the chemical wedding, was often a symbol of the work. From their union, the hermaphroditic offspring of philosophical Mercury was born. Now, you have to remember, this is all like weird allegories and like symbolisms and stuff. So it's just this idea of uniting the masculine and feminine together to create one whole, which they represented as an hermaphroditic offspring of philosophical Mercury. I mean, how strange does that sound? It's very, very strange. But you have to understand that Mercury and, that term Mercury doesn't just mean Mercury itself. I mean, there's just so much to it that we can dissect. And I can just like stop here where we're at now to start researching what Mercury means in alchemy. And then there's like all these symbolisms and physical or spiritual aspects of what Mercury represents. So like that meaning kind of goes a bit deeper than just like the offspring of philosophical Mercury was born. Like, it sounds like a crazy person talking, but if you start digging deeper into it, there's more depth to it than just that. This final phase of Rubedo was the culmination of the great work. It was the creation of the Philosopher's Stone in the form of transparent red stone. This stone, often portrayed as a phoenix, was supposed to perfect anything from metals to human beings, bestowing long life or even immortality. This third stage of Citronistas seems to be difficult for some to assimilate. Jung and his student Marie-Louise von Franz included Citronistas in their discussions of alchemy, but noted that it was a 4th and final stage, that of becoming gold. In most cases, Jung himself expressed the work as having 3 stages. Still, Citronistas seems to fit better into a flow of growth and development, as well as a mystical progress as the 3rd stage. In the 2nd stage, Albedo, a light appears in the Negredo darkness. the light of an awakened soul, which is symbolized as a moon, the feminine, shining in the darkness. The third stage, Citronistas, brings forth the light of the sun, the masculine, a light which magically transforms the shadowy and fearful subconscious into valuable consciousness. From the dark light of Rubedo to the pale morning light of Albedo. I think they meant from the dark night of Negretto. Yeah, I think they messed up here. It's supposed to be from the dark night of Negretto to the pale morning light of Albedo. The sun rises in Citronistas to the culmination of day in Rubedo. Alchemy does require that the yellow follows the white. The process is linear and meant to be progressive. However, all stages include elements of the others, in that all transformations are a cycle within themselves. Trying to determine and pinpoint the exact stage of the process achieved can be fraught with difficulties given these cycles within cycles. In addition, sometimes what is progress appears regressive. Alchemy is not a precise tool like mathematics, as an analytic and predictive tool. It is more akin to a sculptor's chisel, a rough tool at first, working towards finer and finer versions. So, that was pretty good. So, that's why Xanthosis or Citronistas, the third stage, I think is really important, and just the fact that it is underrated, underrepresented, is I think what makes it even more valuable. People tend to just kind of lump it into one of the others, but it's actually really, really important because it is the maturing and becoming that wise old man or wise old lady from that whitening phase, because you can come out of this darkness and find this hope and this new spiritual journey that it like awakens you. Oh my god, this like OBS thing is flashing. It's fucking annoying. Okay. And yeah, so you can like go into the Albedo with this like fresh new eyes and be excited about your spiritual growth and path and this like new thing, but that can actually put you into badness, and if you get stuck in there, you need to kind of like round it out with a little bit of maturity and becomes the wise old man or woman, and then get into Rubedo. So yeah, it's really hard to find stuff on that one, but I think it's a good step. But let me see now what you guys are saying real quick, and then we'll get into Rubedo a little bit more. Wait, what is happening? It says there's an error that occurred. Okay, I'm back. Okay, wow, yeah, you guys are talking. Cool. Let's see where we are at. Oh wow, we got some super chats. Great. I'm actually RJ July 10th, but yes, 85, that's right. Michael Kolchinsky, wow, you gave me $50. Thank you. That really means and helps a lot, so much. He said, hey lady, just saying hi. Everything is stupid and we're all doomed. Love ya. # free Martina. Yeah, I agree with you. I kind of agree with you on that. Yeah. Daniel says he's really confused. I'm sorry. Matthew Gervais says that he just got here. What did he miss? Yeah, I have a broken fireplace. Sorry about it. Lua agrees with me that it shows a clear difference between masculine and feminine. I hate when leftists try to pretend that it's all like blended and mixed together. Yes, it's important to have both of those aspects within us, but you have to admit that there's two different aspects. Is all you're talking about set in stone, or could someone have got it wrong over time? I'm not sure the old teachings will be the same now as they used to be. Well, I mean, these are like archetypes. I don't want to say they're set in stone, but there's so much writings about it that they kind of, and it's a lot of them is allegory, and it's very strange to decipher, which is why it's so mystical, is that you can just really read and read and read and read and go over and over again. But ultimately, yeah, these are kind of distinct phases of the alchemical process that are pretty much solidified. But like it said, it's a cyclical thing. Can't really look at it at its own individual thing. But yeah, you can get a lot out of it. But these 4 phases of the alchemical process are certainly an aspect that can be looked at, that I don't think will really change in its general structure. Albedo is a character in Overlord. I don't know what that is, but yeah, a lot of this alchemy stuff, when I have been researching and looking it up, I tend to come across weird like video games or some sort of stuff, and I'm like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like actual alchemy. Yeah, the Mr. Schnickers said it's funny how different cultures keep having the same themes to the same conclusions. Yeah, that's exactly it. There's a lot of this stuff. I mean, when I studied abroad in China in like 2008, I had to write a 10-page research paper during that whole study abroad thing. And I was like, well, what am I going to write about? I hate writing. Writing is really not my forte. 10 pages, what am I going to do? And I always looked at school, university as whenever they gave us like projects to do or something, I always tried to get my own benefit out of it. So I decided to look up if there was anything on Chinese alchemy. And that way my research was also, it was synergistic. It was like working on a school paper at the same time working on my own research that I was interested in for myself, that I'd be reading about anyway on my own free time. So it was something that I got to use it for. And sure enough, there is Chinese alchemy. It's different, but it has a similar aspect, and it's really interesting. So there definitely is all over the world. I mean, even calculus was invented, discovered completely independently of each other in 2 different places of the world around the same time. So it's just like, yeah, these things can happen. Literally, Kittler said, it's almost as if there's some order to the universe. Yep. Hello, Jim Goodfellas. What's up? Yeah, and then you have the Mass Effect series with its continual cycle of destruction and rebirth inherent to the universe. Yeah, and you'll see that in alchemy a lot. Like they said, they kind of, each of those phases are kind of cyclical in a way in itself too. And there's even something in alchemy that represents that, the Ouroboros. Boros? Yeah. This thing, hold on, let me get it up for you. Hold on a second. Alchemy content card, okay. Yeah, this kind of represents that cyclical, what the fuck is that? That was weird. Yeah, this is the alchemical, Ouroboros. So it's the like a serpent dragon. It's like a dragon, dragon eating its own tail, and that's what represents that cyclical nature that we were talking about. Ooh, that's cool. Yep. Okay, let me switch back. Let me finish reading. Did people who practiced alchemy get as much bother as the old witchcraft folk back in the day? Yeah, I mean, there was a time where, I mean, it's different because it definitely has a background of Christianity. I mean, if you do the, the basic ritual that you work on. I mean, actually, before you even do the LBR, the Lesser Banishing Ritual, the pentagram, which is like the first kind of precursor to doing any sort of magical ritual. Yeah, there is magic involved, but in alchemy, you do like a relaxation ritual, which is pretty much just like meditation. You just relax and close your eyes and imagine, focus on your breathing, and you imagine this like ball of light, in your body, and if there's any pain anywhere, you focus it on that. And that has definitely been some healing. There's been some healing research about that, research about the healing on that, and it definitely. So then I was getting into the LBR ritual. I mean, the LBR ritual, you imagine yourself growing taller and taller and taller into the universe, and go past the Earth and past the planets, and you eventually see this white light in the universe, and that is like the divine light. They call it the divine light. So, I mean, we're looking to God and pulling this divine light towards you and putting it into the sign of a cross throughout your body, because the human body is in this symbol of a cross, and you then go to all four corners, and you summon God in his different names, Adonai, whatever, not whatever, but you know what I mean. That's one example. And, you're calling upon God. You're not calling upon Satan or Lucifer or anything. You're calling upon God, the goodness, the light, and you're putting it into your body, and you're calling upon him to surround you, all around you in this hemisphere. And you imagine that, and then you start summoning, if you will, I guess. You visualize four archangels at the four corners. Archangels are, I would say, Catholic or Christian, whatever you want to say, but it's definitely Western Christian kind of stuff. I don't think other religions even believe in archangels or anything, so there's a lot of Christian roots to this. But to answer your question, at some point, I mean, they were working hand in hand with, kings and religious people or whatever. But I think at some point it was considered, whether it's through puffers, which is fake alchemists, kind of like when you're in the punk scene, it's the posers, the puffers. They ruined it because they were kind of scam artists, and they would go around and be like, yeah, I can turn things into gold. I can make you wealthy. And they were tricksters and took people's money and bounced with it. So, and then I think something happened with the like a pope at some point or whatever. And then they started kind of really targeting alchemists as something demonic, that it really wasn't like some heresy or something. But sometimes the Catholic Church and the Pope gets it wrong. Sometimes they have weird agendas on their own, even though I consider myself a Catholic. I think sometimes the Pope and the Church are wrong, like the current Pope. It sucks. So I think that they had some weird agendas at some point, and they definitely got targeted, which is why Leonardo da Vinci and certain people had to practice in secret and use allegories and symbolisms and really have cryptic texts. The alchemical texts are so cryptic because they had to do it in secrecy and practice it in secrecy. Hey, Fox Mulder, what's up? He gave $10. And he says, how often in your performances did you come across people who knew about alchemy and the specifics of what you were drawing from? That's a great question. If people don't know, my stage name is Lady Alchemy. I was a performer in New York City. And I would pull these things, these elements, these aspects into my work. If you check out my work, you can start to kind of see hints of what I'm doing. And at first, I mean, especially a decade ago, people had no understanding of alchemy. I feel like it's really getting there. I see a lot more content about it. I see the imageries being used a lot more. I never saw them used before. I think esotericism is definitely people more familiar with them nowadays, a bit more. But back in the day, it was definitely, like, people were like, what? You're weird. She's weird. And she's like a nerd. And so a lot of people didn't know. And if I tried to explain the depth of my work to people, they were just like, no one's going to understand that. You know, like, it's too deep, it's too confusing, no one's gonna get all that. And I was like, it doesn't matter. You know, I'm doing the symbolisms for the act of the symbolisms. People don't need to understand it. But ultimately my work was just visually stunning, I would say. So it was about aesthetics, and it was about this underlining message, even if it wasn't fully understood at the time. And then there would be people that, and this still happens, when I would share something and I would attribute either some sort of text with it, or, you know, I would say Negretto, I would call it Negretto or something. I have been told that they've gone down some weird rabbit hole on the internet because of what I posted with it. And they started learning about it, and they're like, whoa, that was like way deeper than I thought it was going to get. And they expressed to me that they started researching it because of my work. And then there were some people that got it. People that were also alchemy nerds. I was part of some alchemy groups and you know, affiliated in that kind of community. And there were people that were like, I see what you did there. Like, bravo. Like, I get it. Like, this is so cool. No one does anything like this. So there are some people that get it, and that's always really exciting for me. It doesn't even matter if it's like really rare when people are like, I see what you did there. That's dope. I'm like, thank you. I heard these mystery schools are related to alchemy, or no? Yeah, I would say yes. Oh God, I'm losing it. Fuck, let me get back up here. Can I explain what alchemy is quickly, please? Yeah, I think I tried in the first video. If you want to get back to the first alchemy stream, I kind of did a little rundown. But for you, I can quickly just try to say that it is a science. It's the precursor to science, and a philosophy, and that is like the physical world. It's considered the outer work, so it's the alchemy. So it's like the science, the physical world, like how do these elements relate, and how, you know, like cooking can be alchemy because it's like things change, the molecular structure of things change. It's a transmutation, and transmutation occurs in nature all the time. I mean, a plant will die and turn to oil, and then after millions and millions of years or whatever, eventually it transmutes into a diamond. It doesn't just happen like instantly, but the process of alchemy is to do that with our soul, you know, transmute ourselves at a faster pace than what would occur in nature. So that's what's really exciting about it. And the inner work is the psychological Carl Jung aspect of it. And alchemy can only be alchemy if you have both that physical and the psychological, spiritual stuff. Because if it's just the physical, then it's just science. And if it's just the spiritual stuff, then it's psychology. But when it comes together, then it's alchemy. And I truly think that you cannot separate the spiritual aspect from the physical. I think quantum physics is starting to prove how things are more interconnected than they originally thought. And I think that modern science is kind of missing a piece if they're not acknowledging the ether, or this spiritual connective tissue that combines atoms and stuff like that. Y'all need Jesus. Yeah, I love Jesus. He's a man. Oh, thank you, Jay. Yes. I am in my bedroom today. I had to stream from the bedroom today instead of the living room. So, you know, welcome. Welcome to my bedroom. Check out books by Falconelli. Le Mysteries des Cathedrals, Esoteric Interpretation of the Hermetic Symbols of the Great Work. Oh, that sounds awesome. Yes, I'm familiar with such, but I will make sure that I check into that. Any Native American ties to alchemy? That's an interesting question. I actually don't know that. do not know. That is not really something I've ever looked up. I mean, they couldn't really figure out a wheel. I don't know if they could figure out alchemy, but I'm just kidding. Whoop. Okay, I don't want to get banned. I'm not saying anything. The Celtic Tree of Life has the same meaning. Yeah, it's definitely representative in a lot of Western cultures definitely kind of move together that way. Do I know of Sticks and Hammer 666? He sometimes talks about the occult. Yeah, I think we've tweeted at each other before. I think he follows me. I have actually bumped into one of his occult YouTube videos, and I was surprised. I was looking up something and going into some ancient texts. One of these, I guess ancient, 16th century ancient. I don't know. I was going into one of these 16th century texts, and there was like a really pretty name, and I was thinking about using that for something, a secret project that I have, and it's actually a title of a piece. And I started just researching that name a little bit more and more and more. I think it's like Latin or something. And I came across Sticks and Hammers video talking about that piece of literature. Oh, hey, Black Pigeon, what's up? Hey, I met him the other day, so I'm glad to see him popped in here. Thanks for looking me up. Awesome. Do I consider myself a Christian? Yeah, Catholic. I remember doing that ball of light relaxation ritual thingy. It was so relaxing. I should get back into doing it. Yeah, and that's the thing about practicing alchemy, which I should probably do a little bit more. When I was single in Brooklyn, and just things were not like the leftist state of New York City and the performing scene and all that stuff, and just being alone. I started, that's when I would kind of really dig into it more. And honestly, I should do that more now, is go back into the research, because the research always really does, and this is what alchemy does, it really, really help. It's amazing what it does. And, when you do the relaxation rituals, when you start doing the LBR rituals, I mean, that is the point. And it's kind of like mass. You go to mass to be not just show up because you're supposed to on a Sunday, because you're told to as a Christian to do that, but it's really a place of worship where you can be in that place with God and reflect and have this internal dialogue with God, or whatever it is that you get out of it. Maybe just think nothing and just be clear of thoughts and pressures. So it's a similar thing with this relaxation ritual is like with prayer, meditation, and all that stuff. So it really, really is amazing. And also, like I said, the work is kind of synergistic. Not only did I go from university taking alchemical concepts and using them for my work in university and having it work together, but I would do the same thing with Lady Alchemy performing. I would dig deeper into the research, and that research would inspire some of my performances and my costumes, and in return I would research it more because I'm working on a performance for it. So you just start researching it more, and then it just makes my depth of knowledge even more, and I gain something spiritually from it. It's really amazing how synergistically it works. Yeah. Okay, so I guess we should get back into Rubedo. So let me see what's going on with Rubedo. So just so that everyone is aware of what's going on, we're going through the 4 phases of the alchemical process. I don't know if Black Pigeon is still in here. I think this is his first time being in my stream. This is an alchemy stream, but so I'm just going to go over alchemy. But if you come in on Tuesdays, it's art stream, and we talk about in depth a bit more with my co-host about art and really dissect some things. It's really, really fun. But, we're both artsy and political, so sometimes we get into some edgy political conversation along with our art conversation, and sometimes they bleed together a bit more. The alchemy doesn't bleed with politics a lot, and it's fine. I'm trying to step away from too much politics. I think it's important to actually get into our own Western culture instead of just keep hammering about politics. But just like this alchemical marriage and the union of opposites with the alchemical marriage, sometimes there are points to make when you bump into some of this information and you're like, see, this is why the left kind of doesn't make sense. There are differences between the sexes. I think the far right are mistaken by thinking the feminine is more subservient, necessarily lesser than. It's not lesser than, but it's different. You have a totally different aspect with attributions and responsibilities. And when they come together in an equal way, like the yin and yang, I think that's the alchemical marriage. That's the importance. And just like a real marriage, they should come together, and they're different and they have different attributes, but equal. I mean, it would not really be a good marriage if one was like really subservient to the other. I understand the aspect of femininity being a bit more demure, and sure, I agree with that, but different but equal. Okay, let's see what Rubedo says. So yeah, we've been going through the 4 phases of the alchemical process, and again, I will go through from the top, not in detail, but Negredo is the blackness. Where is the picture of it? There we go. Rubedo, blackness, dark phase of coming face to face with your demons and burning of impurities, calcination of fire, death. Then goes into whiteness, a rebirth, and a spiritual awakening. And then a lot of the times the forgotten citronistas or xanthosis, a yellowing, which is a maturing of this new enlightenment. And then an albedo. And then a rubedo, which is a reddening and a multiplication of sorts. So let's go. Where is Rubedo? Did I pass it? Here we go. Rubedo, redness. This is... Okay. Albedo is a phase of which the meaning was kept secret for many centuries. The meaning of the 3rd alchemical phase, Rubedo, it's the 4th alchemical phase, thank you very much, or redness, is even more secret and not easy to explain or understand. The union of the red king with the white queen, symbolic of the union of male, female, albedo, rubedo. In other words, when after having attained albedo, having discovered the divine light in oneself, the spirit must be fixated, the descending eagle, resulting in rubedo. The 2 lions with 1 head signifies the unified nature that has been attained. Out of its mouth flows the water of life. So this crazy picture right here is what they're talking about. And again, it sounds like crazy talk, but you have to understand their symbolisms and their metaphors. And the more and more we research, the more you start to really understand exactly what they mean by this double-headed lion with water flowing out of its mouth. Rubedo is the continuation of albedo. That is why they are often seen connected to each other, like the White Queen and the Red King. Oh yeah, that happens in a lot of the imageries that I see. Once the inner light has been discovered, it must be made into the only reality in our consciousness. After having descended into the unconscious, into the darkness, Negredo, into the underworld, we found the light, Albedo. We found the volatile spirit. Now the volatile spirit, or Quicksilver, Mercury, has to be fixated or coagulated. This means that our conscious or attention must completely penetrate our unconscious or soul, or everything that lies hidden in ourselves. By doing this, we fixate, that is, bring it into the conscious, the volatile, and make it durable. When everything in ourselves has been purified and the light appears, we have to fixate this light and make it durable so it remains always present. And that's the importance of Rubedo, is that, like, we have to fixate, this new spiritual power of sorts or realization. White sulfur attained during albedo is also called the bodies composed of pure essence of the metals. The metals are the content of the soul, and now they have been reduced to their pure essence. Now that the soul has been penetrated with pure light, the alchemist has to make it permanent. In the Eastern philosophies, there we go, maybe some Chinese alchemy in here. In the Eastern philosophies, Rubedo corresponds with the formation of the diamond body, a term fitting for the pure and permanent stone of the philosophers. Cool. In Christianity, there we go, see? In Christianity, Rubedo corresponds with the resurrection of Christ. Jesus fixates the light garment of Christ. Jesus has left behind the old body and brought his inner divine self, the Christ body, into his consciousness and made it his own reality. What Jesus did 2,000 years ago, each of us can do the same because we are all sons and daughters of the divine, and we carry the divine essence or the Christ body within ourselves. Now, this is something it's important. It was actually a fight with Jack that I had because he was like, what does Christ mean? Like, what is, like the Jesus Christ? It's not his last name. And I was talking about the Christ consciousness, which I guess is a new age term of sorts, but that's why, what is it in Hindi and stuff? There's Krishna. There's something like Krishna. This Christ is a term that you'll hear it that even predates Jesus. So it's the Christ consciousness. I'll use the new age term, but the Christ consciousness is this state of being. It's that's why they're talking about Jesus and Christ and as two different kind of aspects. And it might sound weird to people that think that Christ and Jesus is the same in essence. Yeah, his spirit reached Christ, this Christ consciousness, this nirvana, I guess you can call it. It reached this heightened state, so he became Jesus Christ. Let's continue, shall we? When Rubedo has been realized, the alchemist has accepted his spiritual inheritance. He has become what he always has been, but never knew he was. He has realized his divine essence while still in his physical body. It is the same as what the Gnostic people, I guess, called, how do you say this? Pneum. It's like pneumonia, but it's pneuma? The divine spirit in each man that is concealed in the deep darkness of the world, but can be made conscious again. When Rubedo has been manifested, man is master over both the physical as the spiritual world. Both the physical and the spiritual world. Sometimes there's things that are not right in these things. He has become a king master over himself. When the unification of all energies of the four aspects of totality has been achieved, a new state of being arises that is no longer subject to changes. Chinese alchemy, look at this. Chinese alchemy calls it the diamond body, which corresponds with the corpus incorruptible, untouchable body. In yoga traditions, Rubedo corresponds with the unification of the spirit of man called Atman with Brahman. Atman is part of Brahman. Brahman is the soul of the all. It is the breath or the energy flowing through you and giving you life and consciousness. Atman is the individual self. Brahman is the universal self. As the body used to be slow, rough, impure, dark, and destructible because it lacked power and energy, so rebirth unifies it with the soul and spirit. Vivified and volatile, light and penetrating, pure, refined, and clear, overflowing with energy, indestructible and full of energy, and it is able to maintain this. Ascend above any height, descend further than any depth, receive all sensory impressions of the created water, fire, dryness, and wetness. Okay, this all deals with alchemy talk that probably doesn't make sense if you don't know it. Think that you are present everywhere, in the sea, on the earth, and in heaven. Think that you were never born and that you are still in the embryonic state, young and old, dead and in the hereafter. Understand everything at the same time, place, things, quality and quantity. Corpus Hermeticum, 1460. That's why it kind of sounds weird too when they talk. Not only is it symbolism, but this is like some old shit. The Corpus Hermeticum is really, really cool too. I actually used some of that text in some of my Lady Alchemy stuff. Actually, let me show you guys some of that. And I will also read a bit more. Let me see what's going on. Literally Kittler gave 10 euros. Thanks so much, man. Thank you. Martina Markota, Sexki, Hrvatska, Lizo, BT, Chile, Dan. Okay. Kakosi, hello. How are you? I don't speak Hrvatska right now. I used to when I was younger, but I don't anymore. I definitely don't know how to read because I stopped speaking in like first grade. I heard a lot about Christ consciousness of some New Age guy. It sounded dumb, and when he told me about, obviously he had it and was the best. Was the best. Those types of people are annoying. Yeah, exactly. Those are the kinds of people that I was talking about when I was saying in the last stream about being stuck and having like this mental, having this like being mental in the phase of Albedo, which is why I think that when you get that new experience of enlightenment and you just can go fucking mad, and you need to like harness that shit out. You need to like calm that shit down, round it out with Citronistas. That's why I think Citronistas is so important. Let me see. Okay, someone said, I don't think the far right thinks women are lesser. That's incels. Okay, yeah, I'll take that. I do know some far right people, and they are really respectful of my work and what I do. And you're right, it is more incel type people. True. Okay, where am I at? I was about to get somewhere, but I forget what I was doing. Wow, I cannot believe I've been talking for over an hour about this. It's like, sometimes I feel like, is there going to be enough to talk about? And somehow it's just like, I can go on and on about this shit. It's crazy. Well, let's see. Oh, yeah, I was going to show you the Corpus Hermeticum Lady Alchemy thing. Lady Alchemy Instagram. All right, back to my Lady Alchemy Instagram. That tends to happen. I think this one. I was trying to figure out what text. I like to add text with images. I think that's powerful. Not just having a pretty picture, but having something that goes along with it. And I found something in the Corpus Hermeticum. And again, to someone else's question, someone recognized it as the Corpus Hermeticum, and they commented it. I don't know if it's in this comment, but someone definitely called it out. And it says, and the soul's vice is ignorance, for that the soul who hath no knowledge of the things that are, or knowledge of their nature, or of good, is blinded by the body's passions and tossed about. This wretched soul, not knowing what she is, becomes the slave of bodies of strange form, in sorry plight, bearing the body as a load, not as the ruler, but as the ruled. This ignorance is the soul's vice. But, on the other hand, the virtue of the soul is gnosis, for he who knows, he good and pious is, and still, while on earth, divine. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let me see if there's a little bit more on Rubedo. Let me see what this says. Okay, Rubedo. I think this is what we were looking at before. That was very in depth, but it was interesting. So let's go through here. Yeah, we went through Negretto, which is kind of my favorite phase. I feel like I'm in a constant state of Negretto, constantly burning and purging shit from my life, and never getting past that phase, but you know. Oh, great, great, great. They have some in-depth aspects of Citronistas. You guys ready for this? You ready to talk a little bit more about Citronistas and Rubedo? Yeah, I know, Jay. Every time I look up alchemy stuff, it's always like some weird video game shit, and I'm like, no, this is not what I'm looking for. Okay, cool. You guys are ready for it. Let's get back. I'm gonna have to pee, but we'll wait. So stage 3, Citronistas are yellowing. Alchemists refer to Citronistas as the stage of the sun, or the dawning of the solar light inherent in our being. Now the light is no longer reflective as in the lunar or soul light. Its nature is direct and it is all-pervading. We do not experience it as having a source. This light is great and strong as a calcinating fire. It's sometimes referred to as the original light or the light that is pure, creative intelligence. Some alchemical texts describe it as the divine intellect, as distinct from the human mental intellect. It is said that the only true knowledge is revealed to us when this light becomes conscious in us. Hold on, having a sip. Now, in describing the second stage, mention was made only of an alchemical marriage and a rebirth. Stage 3 begins with the yellowing death. I.e., there's a dying away of the lunar light to the point of complete darkness, which is in fact black light. A light so bright we cannot see it, as our inner sight is veiled and it appears as darkness. St. John of the Cross, see, there we go, some more like Christian stuff. St. John of the Cross speaks of this in a personal account of his own dark night of the soul. This death is also described from a Buddhist point of view as a death of the sense of self as being a separate individual. It is a complete dying of the dualistic state of mind that perceives subject and object as separate. It is hard to find equivalent experience in the psychotherapeutic setting, but we do have a possible example when we consider the schizophrenic experience. Here, the client can lose all sense of individuality and moves into a world that is almost totally subjective, and there is little or no ability to be objective, i.e. the client to separate herself from the experience. That's what I'm talking about with the Albedo getting a bit crazy, and you kind of don't really understand how to distinguish reality or objectivity. The yellowing death signals the end of the influence of the lunar light as the consciousness is transformed into solar light. This solar light awakens the sense of revelation and revelatory knowledge. Inner knowing is not arrived at by studying, reflection, or deep thought. It is to be experienced as a direct revelation. Further descriptions of the stage become too metaphysical to be relevant, and so we must proceed to the description of the third alchemical marriage. Purification at this stage focuses on the removal of the watery elements. This alchemical marriage reveals the anima figure as corresponding to the divine virgin or heavenly woman, the object of spiritual love. This love is devotional in nature. One example of this would be Dante's Beatrice, who leads the poet on to the spheres of paradise and the marvels of heavenly love. The corresponding animus figure appears as the spiritual guide, the professor, the clergyman guru who is seen as elevated and spiritualized. The rebirth is the term of the birth of the solar consciousness, a revelatory light. Since stage 3 has moved clearly into the mystical realms, it seems pointless to try to seek for examples from the psychotherapeutic setting that will give us a practical example of this experience. It is perhaps best left as it is, i.e. a mystical experience. However, the intuitive knowledge that we often receive in life, whether in a dream or in a flash of realization, gives us at least a hint of the power of the revelatory light or solar light. It is true that there is a stage in the therapeutic process in which a particular dream, insight, or image that comes to us can act as a crucial turning point in the therapy, or it may sum up the whole purpose of our therapeutic process. In this sense, we could say that our intuition is an expression of the internal mystical knowledge, a level at which everything is already known. This was referred to earlier as pure intelligence. Of course, we are not aware of where the union comes from or how it knows, and neither are we likely to experience this mystical illumination while in therapy. In order to know something of this stage, we must rely on the illuminations of those exceptional few human beings who have recorded their experiences. Okay, well, yeah, that was a little bit more on Xanthosis that I never really came across. So I don't know if that kind of stuff makes sense to you guys, but I find it extremely interesting. I can just read that stuff and I have to stop at a paragraph and go, okay, let me internalize that. Okay, let me see. Let me see what you guys are talking about. You guys are talking about Russians? Y'all ready for this? Yeah. Can people who don't look for or follow alchemy or similar things find it by chance and not know what to do with the information they get or experience? I believe so, yeah. I mean, like I said, there's like a natural process of transmutation that occurs, for example, with a plant dying, and after millions and millions of years, it eventually turns, from plant oil and transmutes into a diamond or whatever. So I think it's possible. I think sometimes people just kind of are a plant and then they die. I think some people kind of get to that oil state in their lifetime, and then I think that alchemy is speeding up that process so you can get to that diamond faster. You kind of force that death in a spiritual sense, and then kind of and make it at a rapid rate turn your soul into a diamond. And I think that people can do it without alchemy. It's kind of like calculus. When you know calculus, you kind of see the world in a different way. Does that mean other people other people can still experience life and still have kind of these intuitions, but when you understand the calculus, you're just like, you can recognize it and kind of make more sense of the world around you at better and faster. So I think that's what alchemy does, is kind of speeds up that process. And some people can kind of get to this state on their own or through other means, definitely. But I think it's definitely a process that you can kind of that can speed it up for you. You guys talking about socialism and shit? Okay. Dark Night of the Soul is pretty esoteric. I almost thought it could be reading along with the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Yeah, probably. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Never Cold and Literally, Kittler they're going back and forth on something. It's okay. You can talk about whatever you guys want in the chat. Who's the god of this alchemy? If there's a soul, then I presume there's a god in alchemy. Yeah, like I said, in the LBR ritual, the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, which is something you study when you get into alchemy as well. Yeah, I mean, they definitely talk about divine, the divine, definitely about a god. You definitely are pulling that source and that. And I mean, as you see, even when what we went through, I mean, they were talking about Rubedo as like this state of Jesus and the Christ, that Christ consciousness. And, everything that we have talked about so far has only talked about Jesus, Christ, the divine, goodness. It's only been that. There has never been anything demonic about it so far. So just, once you start thinking things are a bit, going downhill, then, point that out and let me know. Because so far through my decades of research, it's only been about the light and Jesus and Christ and the divine and God. I mean, are you asking me to define what God is in alchemy? I mean, you can't put God into words. It's the unsayable and the unknowable. I think that's something that's in some sort of text that I've read somewhere about this stuff. It's for example, we are in the third dimensional world, right? So there's 3 dimensions in this world, and we can comprehend that. There's the X plane back and forth, there's the Y plane up and down, and then there's the Z plane, which provides the third dimension, right? We can understand that. So now think about a 2D world. And there's, only piece of paper I have is this thing where I was sketching costumes on, so excuse that. But think about a 2D world. Let me make sure you guys can see me. Yeah, you can see me. And, it's flat. So forget this aspect of this being like, a really, really small height there. Just pretend that it's possible to have a 2D world. Hold on, I have to change something here. Okay. And so let's say that this 2D world is like 2 rooms, and there's a room here and there's a room there. And then you have Mr. Square. I'm going to call this rectangle square, same thing, right? And like a circle person. I don't have a circle. There's like a circle, 2D circle person. And let's say like the square guy saw an apple come out from the top, and it just kind of went into this 2D world. And to this square guy, he saw the apple in this 2D kind of perspective of like all these little like slices of the apple like going through, and he was like, what the fuck is that? Like, where did that come from? What just happened? And then he like tells like the circle guy, oh my god, I just like saw this weird thing, like this weird thing happened. And the circle's like, well, where did it come from? Like, what? And the square guy says, up. It came from up. And he's trying to explain to the circle guy, like, what is up? Like how can you describe something in this world that there is no up or down? Like, it just makes absolutely no sense. So it's the same thing trying to explain what God is in this 3-dimensional world that we live in. It is the unsayable and the unknowable. We look, it's just, I don't have a description for what the divine is. We cannot even comprehend the abilities and the presence of God. So that is my answer. Oh, yeah. That it is a real thing. Yeah. That's a book called Flatland. Yeah. I'm just not describing it very well. This was from years ago. Yeah. Black Pigeon says, how do you explain calculus to dogs? I mean, it's just not something that we can comprehend at all. Okay, so I guess, this is literally Flat World. Yeah, I'm glad that people know that reference. It's definitely a reference. And you can see it a lot better, if you look up Flatland on YouTube. There will be better graphics than my piece of paper with a sketch on it and a train ticket. There's better visuals and better explanation. But I actually got that from Carl Sagan. I used to have Carl Sagan DVDs back in the day. Man, what a good man. Okay, yeah, JJ Frost, thanks. So the Yahweh of the Bible is basically God of alchemy. Got it. I don't think trying to get Christ consciousness is demonic. It is in the Bible to follow his example. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. People want to say that there's different gods. I don't understand that, but I mean, alchemy is a Western tradition. We do talk about Jesus and Christ. Yes, about the Christ consciousness. So if that means it's and I think that it is there's like the 26th letter word of God in Hebrew that is what the like unsayable and knowable, I guess, translate to. Yeah, the Yad-He Vav-He or something. So yeah, I guess if that's the answer you're looking for, then yeah, it is the Yahweh of the Bible. I would agree. What was I going to say? Yeah, there was something else to that. Oh yeah, so the God thing too. Also, when you do the LVR ritual and you're calling upon God and all around you to create that hemisphere of His presence all around you, like to pray to Him of sorts. It's like creating your church. You say the different names of God. So there's like Adonai, Yad-He Vav-He, like whatever, and you use all these different names, and they kind of explain that again because it's not just one word like God. There's different names of Him, and it's kind of like I am Martina. I am also Lady Alchemy. I am also Tina to my family. I am also sister to 5 other siblings. I am also daughter to my mother. So these are all aspects of me and how to describe me. And so it's similar with this God aspect of like, how do you even describe? And there is no one name for it. But anyway, okay, let's get into Rubedo and see where we're at with that. Hold on one second. Let me find the right content card. I'm hoping you guys like my bedroom. I never showed you my bedroom before, by the way. Oh, it's cozy. Okay, stage 4 Rubedo or reddening. In stage 4, the alchemist awakens to the desire to return to the earth and to fully incarnate his or her state of illuminated consciousness into the mind and body. To achieve this, a purifying fourth fire, burning and vehement as a fusion. Is that how you say that? VEHEMENT? Whatever, must be used to bring about a new coagulation of spirit and matter. The culmination of stage 3 leaves the alchemist completely free in a state of pure spirit, pure intelligence, beyond space, time, and form, but without a consciousness of body or mind. Thus, the death or red death at the start of stage 4 involves the death of the freedom inherent in this state and the death of the conscious state of pure spirit and pure intelligence as an individual soul that desires to be embodied without the sense of separation from its original pure state. It is only when the soul is finally incarnated with the mind-body psyche that it can realize its state of spiritual completeness. Heaven and earth and the alchemist are now united, as above, so below. Furthermore, the process is incomplete and inherently unstable at the end of stage 3, as there is no body or psyche as a vehicle to incarnate into, and the mind-body will suffer the fate of eventually regressing backwards towards its original impure leaden state. However, spirit is not meant to incarnate into the old leaden state of mind-body, as there would be no purpose in the process if this happens, i.e. the consciousness would revert back to its leaden state, or worse still, split off from the psyche, and the alchemist would be left in an internally split state. So the psyche needs to be awakened. This is that aspect of, again, the process of alchemy can drive you mad. People can literally get psychosis and get mental. So I think this is what they're talking about, the importance of, reuniting the spiritual experience and revelation back into the material body. Materially spiritualized is the term used, so that it can be an appropriate vehicle for the soul to incarnate into, i.e. the psyche can now express the soul's qualities and nature because the psyche has become of the same nature as the soul. This uniting of the spirit soul with the mind body represents the final and most important alchemical marriage. Now the anima becomes the mother of God, or consort of God, the object of mystic love. The corresponding animus figures are illuminated ones: Christ, Buddha, the saints, etc. So I have to stop real quick and again, did you see those terms? Christ, Buddha, the saints, etc. Nothing demonic there. This is all good Christ-like kind of stuff. So again, with people trying to act like this stuff is like Satanism or something retarded, it's not. Let me get back to this. Now the anima becomes the mother of God, or consort of God, the object of mystic love. The corresponding animus... Am I in the right place? Oh, I must have missed a line. This uniting of the spirit soul with the mind body represents the final and most important alchemical marriage. Now the anima becomes the mother of God, or consort of God, the object of mystic love. The corresponding animus figures are illuminated ones. The illuminated ones, that's definitely something that Jesus Christ is considered. I think in the Bible is called the illuminated one many, many times. Christ, Buddha, the saints, etc. What this means is that God consciousness, in being born into the world of the earth, realizes its godlike nature consciously as an enlightened, transcendental individual and in a state of oneness with the cosmic whole. This, then, is the philosopher's stone that the alchemist has been seeking for. It is the grand culmination of the great work. The psychotherapeutic equivalent to this is far easier to recognize, explain, and understand by comparison to the complex mysticism of stage 3. Quite simply, once the client has realized and transcended the nature of their problems or dilemmas, they are faced with the task of implementing it in their life. This involves a change in their personality that will accommodate and sustain their realization. Thus, the client who realizes that his or her life has been a sham, which has led to numerous problems, now sets about the process of changing it to be more in accord with his or her own true nature. The effort of accomplishing this is far greater than the effort of realizing the need for this change in the first place. Now, again, let me stop for a second. Just how important that aspect is, because I get asked all the time about this. Oh, do you really think you can turn lead to gold and all this stuff? And I have to explain that alchemy is what did they say? The effort of accomplishing this is far greater than the effort of realizing the need for the change in the first place. Okay, well, so what I was trying to say, I guess, in relation to that was that, like, it's not about even necessarily getting to this, like, materialistic gold aspect. It's all this process of just becoming into this Christ consciousness state that, like, ends up being far more valuable than any of that, like, trying to turn lead to gold type of stuff. I think it is possible, because I think that there has been some stories of becoming in this pure, natural, spiritual state that can turn things into gold, but that's kind of irrelevant. We don't really care about that. I say we as an alchemist, like I am one. But yeah, so I mean, I think that's like really interesting. Thus, the client who realizes that his or her life has been a sham, which has led to numerous problems, now sets about the process of changing it to be more in accord with his or her own true nature. The effort of accomplishing this is far greater than the effort of realizing the need for this change in the first place. So once you get to this like enlightened state, and then you merge it back with your spiritual body, and that's what Rubedo is about like actively pursuing this in the real world. You know, like there's only so much of this psychological, like they talk about it too, that it's not an intellectual knowledge. It's the pure knowledge. That's what they've been saying, I think. And it is just this heightened state of being that ends up affecting you in real life. Now, for example, some of my, impurities or demons or, like some of the flaws of my character can be too emotional or, react a certain way to a particular situation or whatever. And I'm definitely way too emotional, and possibly negativity or whatever. And, studying the alchemy and even though I haven't hit Christ consciousness by any means, but even trying to understand those concepts. And like I said, I have to stop after a paragraph at a time and then internalize it. It's not just about reading it and understanding what it's saying. I have to live it. I have to experience what I just read and go, okay, I understand, I get it. And that usually in return does help me become a better person. So it was an interesting thing actually to read about not regressing backwards, which is kind of scary because I think that's what has happened. I've had years of research and I was in a good progress of doing stuff, and then there's some regression. Yeah, and you go back a bit, and that's interesting. But anyway, where am I? Oh, you're looking at me. Let me go back to this. The alchemical principle of solve et coagula, love that. It's separate and combine, or dissolve and coagulate, has been used at each stage of the process. In other words, the form of the soul is caught in a time, the self. The form the soul is caught in at the time, the self, must first be dissolved in order to free the soul so that it can rise in consciousness to experience a pure and subtler form, which can then be recoagulated and experienced as the new self. However, in stage 4, as the soul incarnates or descends into the worldly body, the latter has been tempered to be more suitable vehicle or psyche, which is then coagulated with the soul to form the self that has awakened the body and mind to express its nature. The spirit has been materialized and the material body spiritualized. As above, so below. The spirit has been materialized and the material body spiritualized. Fantastic. It's interesting stuff. You know what I mean? Let me just catch up to what you guys are saying. Let me catch up. Okay. Matthew Gervais gave $2. He says, did you look at the link I put in the chat last time? Matthew, are you the one that gave me the, what is it called? Oh, God, yeah, I was going to talk about it. Yeah, remind me what it's called. I forget what it's called, but yeah, I've looked at it, and I now have the alchemy stream going, so I will actually, was thinking about you, if you were the one trying to show me this, we'll do a whole video and we'll dissect it and we'll go through it. I'll bring it up on screen. Hey Eagle, what's up? Thank you so much. You gave $50. Thank you. You said keep doing what you do. Thumbs up. Man, that really means a lot. Thank you. Gotta do this for a living now. Bryonic Nationalist gave $2. Hey, what's up, Bryonic? What would you tell someone considering Catholicism? What does that mean? Explain. Considering Catholicism. I think it's a great tradition. I absolutely love it. I love the aesthetics. I think it's fantastic. So much drama. There's like headdresses and robes and scepters, and there's like choirs, and the churches are gothic and beautiful. It's an awesome religion. It's really, really great. But like I said earlier, there are times that I don't agree with the church or the Pope. The Pope is just totally screwed right now. So there can be a lot of this fake Catholicism that I call it basic bitch Catholicism, where it's like you shouldn't be forced to go to church just because it's Sunday and be like, I have to go to church because it's Sunday and I'm Catholic. Church is a place that it should be a moment of like spiritual healing, where you go to, find, enlightenment, talk to God, just reach this level of like understanding or like purify yourself in a way. It means that it's been on my mind a bunch lately. Protestantism has left me lacking something. Yeah, I really don't know much about Protestants, other than like, what is it, Martin Luther nailing, right? No, is that Lutheranism? Same thing, Protestant? I don't know. But, no, Catholicism is great, but like I said, you have to be careful with just like falling into this rut of going through the motions for the religion without it really resonating with you. And for me, it took studying alchemy a bit more to kind of come full circle in a like Gnostic way of angle of looking at my Catholic roots. So like you have seen in this stuff, there is, they talk about saints, they talk about, Jesus and the Christ consciousness and, archangels. And there's definitely some roots that start going deeper and deeper with the study that has made me go, I get it. I get the way that I was raised, like the Catholic roots, and I have a whole new appreciation for it. So it's all about what, if it works for you. I like the more esoteric angle of Catholicism than just like blindly following rules. I for one was even thinking about Sabbath. Jews celebrate their Sabbath and they're really strict about it, and I was like, why the no? I mean, in New York, there's a lot of Hasidic Jews, so they definitely don't use money and, technology and all this stuff. And I was like, what is that about? Like, what's going on? And I started researching because I was like, we have a Sabbath too. It's one of our 10 commandments. Keep holy Sabbath day. So I was like, what is going on here? Now, and I found it absolutely fantastic, interesting because, their whole not touching money or technology and all this stuff, it really resonated because, again, there's a way of doing it where they still do it, but they kind of do it in this weird loophole. So they're still technically following their religion. But it's the same thing with the basic bitch Catholicism. It's like, you shouldn't just be going to church like reluctantly because you have to, because it's Sunday and that's what you're supposed to be doing as a good Catholic. You shouldn't be following these Sabbath rules as a Jew just to, sideline it in a different way and still technically follow it, but you're still kind of breaking it. The point of Sabbath for both Christians and Jews is that it's one day a week. God rested on the seventh day after working, and it is the one day of rest a week. And I think it is very, very important for mental health, for family relationships, because that is the day that you get off your goddamn social media and your Twitter and all that stuff. Don't go on it. Don't have your kids on it. It's the one day to stop working. Tell the fella, stop. It's going to be family time. It's going to be cooking. It's going to be being in nature. It's going to be being one with God. And I think if you have that one day a week, it is really, really important for not only mental health, but family. So I think Sabbath is really important. And that's the way that you should look at keeping Holy Sabbath Day or church or whatever, is like appreciating that concept of like, wait a minute. Yeah, like it is probably a good idea to get off Twitter for one day. It's probably a good idea to, spend quality time with your family and eat really good food and go outside. Like that's how you got to think about it, not just like forcing yourself to follow like arbitrary rules. What is family tie? That you talk about? Yeah, I know. So yeah. Do you think it's better to find religion by yourself? Again, like I don't. Okay, so I have there's a YouTuber. I don't know if you guys know Rocking Mr. E. He's so fantastic. Now, I found him years ago, quite a few years ago, way before the election, many, many years ago, on YouTube, when I didn't think that there was anyone else that was conservative and that had these like same concepts that I did. And my outlet was YouTube and the internet to find information. And I bumped into Rocking Mr. E. I think he's like British or some shit. I didn't even like realize until recently, and I was like, oh my god, I'm in the UK as well. And so he would talk about all that stuff about Christianity and anti-socialism and Marxism, and a really, really intelligent guy. I really recommend you look up his channel, Rocking Mr. E. And it's been really great because I think someone gave a super chat on one of his live streams and mentioned to me that I said something about him or whatever, and then he came and found me and and said thank you. And he's a really good, decent family guy, very smart, knows about a lot of information. Now I'm surprised he is someone. I mean, he's definitely far more popular than me on YouTube, and fantastic content. I mean, I'm not really a talker. I don't really know how to do this stuff very well. But he is very intelligent and has really, really great content. And it's surprising that he hasn't blown up even bigger the past few years. And I think that is something that is really sad, how people like Loomer or attention grabbers that do dumb shit can blow up. But someone with such amazing content can, he didn't blow up that big, but again, he's definitely much bigger than me. But anyway, so he commented on one of the last alchemy video, the one and only alchemy video, I think, stream. And he said it was like good stuff in it and whatever, and he had some nice comments, and I was like, oh my god, like how honored I am that he is commenting and watching the video. And he's very kind, and he made some sort of... I said that I was nervous because I did see that he did a video about Gnosticism and it being some new age stuff and this like kind of cultural Marxist stuff or whatever. I don't know, I gotta watch the video in full. But I kind of was like, oh, yeah, I know he's Christian. Like, I hope he doesn't think that my alchemy stuff is really like bad and demonic and all that. And so I said, I'm glad that you approve of this conversation and that you don't think it's like absolutely horrible. And he says, no, that he researches this stuff as well. And something about, he definitely does have this separation of it or concern about it. Or I don't know the exact words, I can look up his comment, but something about, religion, it being an aspect of religion or whatever that he doesn't really take it for, but he finds the concept of it interesting. And I said, yeah, I would agree, because even though a lot of the stuff we talk about, there is like divine, there's the Christ consciousness, there's like all this like religious kind of talk and aspects, there is stuff that I've read. I can't pull up the source, but my research, I do remember it sticking in my head that alchemy is not a religion. It is a science and a philosophy, even though we do get into these kind of religious aspects. I don't think that they are trying to be like Church of Alchemy and let's make it a religion. I think it's definitely not something that they're trying to, that it's ever been trying to do. So I want to refrain from being like too much, trying to convert anyone into any sort of religion of sorts. I'm open to talk about it. I'm very open about talking about anything, but I just wanted to point that out and make sure you guys realize, like, this is not going to be like some Church of Alchemy type shit. Christianity is definitely my thing. Anyway, good idea to deflate. Have I ever seen Santos Bonacci on YouTube? No, but I will copy that as well. Checking that out. Yes, Doma, I have. I am familiar with that concept of the collective here on this earth and stuff. Yeah, exactly, Jay. I think it was around 2014 as well. Watching Rocking Mr. E, chipping away at some leftist stuff. Stop paying for the BBC. I don't think I don't have a TV, so I don't think we pay for BBC. Unless we do. I don't know. I don't know UK law or government. I don't know. I'm just the American wifey. I don't know what husband is doing. Yes, Doma, I am familiar with that. I haven't looked into that stuff in a while, but I think that's where a lot of like weird ancient text, biblical kind of interpretations can come from as well. The first video I saw from him, Mr. E, was about Joseph McCarthy. Yeah, he's great. Sorry, catching up on your comments. Yeah, that's right, Jay. Anti-communist and anti-leftist videos are very scarce back then, back in the day. Now we have so many people available. Yeah, I agree. But his stuff is still far beyond, even when he does have a video on like anti-Marxism or something, which he was one of the first out there to do, which is why I know of him. Even today, his stuff is far superior than anyone else, being like, socialism, bad. He's really great. He's very smart and a good guy. Okay. He talked about how McCarthy was right, but some of his tactics during the Red Scare in the 50s might have been wrong. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he definitely has a lot he's been doing this for so long. But I do trust that he's a good guy. You don't always have to agree with everything, but, back in the day, I definitely was like, he's good. You don't want to start the cult of Martina, but if you did, I would join. Yeah, no, it's funny because I have said in previous streams about, like, I'm obsessed with, like, cults. I watch Scientology stuff all the time. Not, like, actual Scientology content, but, like, exposing Scientology stuff. I mean, I've watched documentaries on every cult possible out there, and I'm like, damn, I would love to start a cult. The Alchemy cult would be great. But no, cult leaders tend to be sociopaths and stuff like that. I definitely don't have... They're just really good speakers and charismatic and all that. I definitely cannot be a cult leader. Wouldn't work. It's not in me. Don't have the traits. Alchemy is about, El Illuminati said, alchemy is about elevating oneself above the animal, above the baseness of the human condition, to the purity of the consciousness of the soul, and thus a direct communication with God. Yeah, I agree. And this is also kind of what I think is wrong with the the aspect of the left when they go, well, other animals, you know, they do this or that, or, you know, other animals are bisexual. That means it's natural for us to be, or whatever. I don't know. Whatever they say. I don't know. Am I gonna get in trouble on YouTube? I don't know. But I don't agree with that concept, because we are not the same. No offense to any other animals out there, but we are not the same. We do have a different consciousness and a communication with God that's different than animals. Sorry about it. That's what I believe. We are in the image and liking of God. That's it. Me too. I love cults. LOL. Yeah, I know, it's really interesting. Yeah, they all either originate in Los Angeles or end up finding their way there. Look up Source Cult. Very interesting. I wonder if I've seen something on it, because I've seen literally everything on cults, but I do not recall seeing that name, so I will look that up. Okay, guys. I've been streaming for just about almost an hour and 2 hours and 1 minute, and I have to pee really bad, and I did get through the phases of the alchemical process. Okay, the first video we did Negredo and Albedo. I encourage you guys to look at it. I'll change the thumbnail so you can distinguish the alchemy video from all the other streams. And we wrapped it up with the final two, Xanthosis, the yellowing and maturing of Albedo, which is often forgotten about, and then Rubedo, which is like combining the new spiritual aspect of the pure enlightenment, not an intellectualized book smart, but a pure enlightenment, and reunifying it with the body. So the mind and body are in a perfected state together, and that's very exciting stuff. I hope that it resonated with you guys a little bit. I find it extremely interesting, and oh, thank you. Let me see what you just sent me, Matthew. Oh, yeah. I remember you sent that to me. Yeah, it's the urine. That's when I was mentioning the, what is it called? God, what is it called? What did alchemists make out of it? Phosphorus. Yeah, ancient alchemists. We can get into that too. Let me write it down, because it's just like, I can go on and on about alchemy, and they all like interconnect, and then you get one place and you start going down some other rabbit hole, and it's just, let me just write some things down so I don't forget. But yeah, that video that you sent me, that BBC clip, was about this alchemical process of, no, excuse me, it's drinking. The milk truck cult. I'm into that. Yeah, Jamie said piss. Yeah, ancient alchemist, one in particular. I mean, they have all the study. Actually, he collected his wife and her friend's piss, like jugs and jugs of piss, and distilled it and did weird shit to it, and eventually created phosphorus. That's how they created white phosphorus. So I'll write down piss. Alchemy. Phosphorus. And we can get into that topic a little bit later. It's actually quite interesting. Yeah, they were looking for gold, but started with P. And Jay says poo-poo alchemy. Well, again, I think I've explained this before. The starting matter, the prima materia. No, it's the prime matter. The starting matter is they say, the legends say, that it is everywhere, all around us, that it's free. It's just like something that is around us that is not really acknowledged, or people don't really realize that that's like the starting matter. What's up, Randy? He says someone clip Martina saying jugs and jugs of piss. Yeah, that's right, Black Pigeon. Piss equals white phosphorus. I mean, you guys are really interested in this right now. I guess I should elaborate, not leave it for next time. Shit. Okay. Phosphorus, urine, alchemist. That's what I'm Googling. And I swear I'm not making this shit up. It's a thing. Yeah. Henning Brand was a German merchant, pharmacist, and alchemist living and working in Hamburg. Oh, nice. I have someone in Hamburg that says I can perform at their burlesque place. He is the discoverer of the chemical element phosphorus. The alchemist... Oh, looks like I've clicked this link before. This is the video that... what's his name? Matthew Gervais sent me in the chat. I don't know.
Even as a chemist, and I've smelled a lot of stuff. This is.
Let me see.
Here it is. Here it is.
It looks absolutely putrid, I have to say.
Well, I can tell you that even as a chemist, and I've smelled a lot of stuff. This is seriously unpleasant.
Okay.
I don't want to play too much of it because I will get a copyright strike, but.
Controlling temperature, making the furnace and glass retorts. But his strong constitution and persistence produced strange results. So,
yeah.
What had he extracted from the urine?
Yeah, so they say that, the starting matter for the alchemist is everywhere. It's all around you. It's free. It's just like totally, really not even acknowledged often as anything worthwhile. So alchemists tried using anything. They tried their piss. They tried their poo, I think. Oh, yeah, here's another one. It's really... Oh, okay.
It called it the golden stream, and they loved it.
The golden stream.
The right sort of colour, although not the right sort of smell. Anyway, Brand all. He then boiled the stuff up and allowed it to ferment till it turned black. He added some sand and heated the whole lot up in a retort. He thought it would go out, but it went on. He had in his flask this wonderful, mysterious substance that glowed in the dark. Before his eyes, it flickered and flamed. He thought it would go out, but it went on and on. What he'd actually discovered was phosphorus. He didn't know it was an element. In fact, he had no idea what an element was. He called it cold fire.
Yeah, so I wasn't kidding there, but let me... Where is the urine stuff? Where did I put it? Oh. Yeah, looks like I've clicked on this link before. German alchemist Henning Brand discovered phosphorus when he tried to make gold from urine. Phosphorus is an element that is essential for life. It exists in two major forms, white phosphorus and red phosphorus. Forms of it are found in DNA, RNA, and all living cell membranes. It's one of the 6 most abundant elements in any living organism. White phosphorus is the most toxic of all allotropes. It's used in many destructive weapons such as napalm. White phosphorus can also cause severe liver damage on ingestion. Known as the devil's element, phosphorus is the 13th element to be discovered and also the first element discovered since ancient times. This is a phosphorus explosion. What is most interesting about phosphorus is how it was discovered. Its discovery dates back in the year of 1669 by the German alchemist Henning Brand. Back in the mid-17th century, people's general knowledge of alchemy was not as advanced as it is today, and it may seem strange how Brand was able to discover the mysterious element. Henning Brand was born in 1630 in Hamburg, Germany. While young, he was an apprentice glassmaker. He married a wealthy woman, so he was able to quit glassmaking and start a career as an alchemist. Lucky bastard. See, they say that you shouldn't really practice physical alchemy until you are financially stable to do so because it requires dedication. You cannot be sidetracked by work and you need all this like equipment and stuff like that. So you need to practice alchemy when you are financially able to do so. His main ambition was to discover the Philosopher's Stone, a legendary alchemical substance that could turn base metal into gold. While he was trying to discover the Philosopher's Stone, he spent a lot of money and didn't make any profit. Later, his wife died and he got married again. His second wife was so wealthy, so he was now able to build a lab and continue his work again. In 1669, the German alchemist noticed that urine and gold were basically the same color, so he thought that there was possibly that urine could contain the precious metal. He started collecting urine mostly from his wife and her friends. It's thought that he managed to collect around 1,500 gallons of urine over the course of his experiments. Henning Brand first tried to boil some urine in a vat until it was a thick syrup-like substance. The substance was glowing red hot. After that, the substance hardened, cooled, and turned black. He mixed the black part with the red and heated it. In the end, he distilled it, and then it burst into flames. He thought he had discovered the Philosopher's Stone. He didn't know that he had discovered phosphorus, one of the most important elements of all. Brand named the new discovery phosphorus, from the Greek for light bearer. He didn't tell anyone about his discovery for 6 years because he thought that people would steal it from him. Oh, I understand that. I'm totally into that. He made even more experiments, but after 6 years, he realized that he didn't discover the Philosopher's Stone, but something else that was unknown to him. Henning Brand died in 1710. We hope you enjoyed the Village News. So yeah, wasn't kidding. Piss. Jugs and jugs of piss makes phosphorus. Yep. I know, like, how did he get to collect his friend's pee? And when he thought that, like, he didn't want to share it with anyone because he thought that it would be stolen, I thought I was about to say he didn't want to share it with anyone because he was, like, embarrassed that he used piss to try to make the Philosopher's Stone, and it really wasn't the Philosopher's Stone. Get you a man who can collect you and your friend's pee like Henning Brand. Yeah. Harry Pisser and the Philosopher's Bone. Okay. Taking the piss, that's right. Jay's like, whoa, man, that's creepy. Sounds like he's a bit of a perv. Golden shower, yeah, that's funny. Jay, the Sorcerer's Stone. Yeah, that's why J.K. Rowling used a lot of like alchemical references and imageries, and even Nicholas Flamel is a real alchemist. Oh my god, I'll write that down. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But everyone just thinks of Harry Potter. I'm not familiar with Harry Potter. I don't watch or read that stuff. I am too old. I'm a boomer. So I only know the real Nicholas Flamel and his wife. And it gets very frustrating because people are like, oh, Harry Potter. I'm like, no. Okay, so, yeah, like I said, I've been on for 2 hours, so I think Jack needs to stream. I think there's some elections or something going on today where he is going over some results, so I'm going to give him the Yeti mic and retire for tonight. Harry Potter's catnip for bitches. Basic bitches. But anyway, thank you guys so much. Please, I hope you're excited about Alchemy Stream. I know a lot of people have been asking me a lot of alchemy questions, so this is a time where we can really get into the depths of alchemy. And I'm 32 and I don't know anything about Harry Potter. Same, I'm older than you, and I don't know shit about Harry Potter. Good night, Black Pigeon. Thanks for popping in here. I'm glad you found my real name. And yeah, so Thursday will be alchemy streams. Tuesday is art stream. Looking on, figuring out how to do a classic movie night Wednesday. And, you know, art stream kind of has a little bit of politics in it, but, you know, we like to do the art stuff. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Okay, let me, shoot, do I have an end screen? I'll just play my intro as the end screen. Bye guys, thank you so much.